Welcome to NTD News. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Here are today's top stories. House Democrats reveal a new virus aid bill with aims to pour $3 trillion in relief funds to various programs, as well as to state and local governments. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo visits Israel. He meets with the Prime Minister and his coalition partner the day before Israel is set to swear in a new coalition government. The tide turns toward the GOP in Tuesday's congressional race as state special election results flow in. Tom Tiffany declares victory in Wisconsin, while Mike Garcia inches closer to reclaiming a Democratic seat in California. And Tesla's factory reopening and defiance of local orders is drawing both praise and criticism. California's governor says he may have to investigate. Some Senate Republicans say they won't pass a whopping $3 trillion plus CCP virus relief package unveiled by House Democrats. The new legislation would more than double Congress's financial response to the crisis so far.
House Democrats released a $3 trillion bill on Tuesday in the latest proposal for a CCP virus aid package.
It is imperative that we address the needs of the American people with clarity on how we proceed. That is why today, House Democrats are introducing the HEROES Act.
The bill includes another direct payment to each American, as well as nearly $1 trillion for state and local governments. Senator Chuck Schumer approved.
I am supportive of the plan that Speaker Pelosi has put together.
But the new legislation quickly drew criticism from conservatives.
In terms of the House Phase 4 bill, it's got so much unrelated to coronavirus, it is dead on arrival here in terms of a viable idea.
Graham said he doesn't support another $1,200 round for everyone, but that the money should be targeted towards people who lost jobs and businesses that lost revenue. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told reporters the bill was not something designed to deal with reality, but designed to deal with aspirations. Democratic leaders in Congress have pushed a fifth bill for weeks. They say state and local governments require funds. Other programs in the bill include homeless assistance programs, money for struggling public transit systems, and an emergency broadband connectivity fund. McConnell said applying the White House's guidelines on phased reopening would inject more cash into the system safely.
Look, I mean, we can't spend enough money to prop this economy up forever. People need to be able to begin to be productive again.
McConnell said there were extensive talks on Tuesday about liability protection to help schools and universities open in the fall. He said without this protection, the country is unlikely to transition to Phase 1 and Phase 2 of reopening. The House is due to meet on Friday for a vote, following a prolonged break.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is introducing legislation aimed at Beijing. The bill would authorize sanctions on China if the regime refuses to cooperate with an investigation into how the virus began.
Senator Lindsey Graham on Tuesday introduced legislation to allow the U.S. to impose a wide range of sanctions on the Chinese regime. That's if China refuses to be open and transparent about how the virus started. An international investigation into the origins of the virus is looking increasingly likely. Graham said in a statement that he is convinced that without Chinese Communist Party deception, the virus would not be here in the United States. He said he is convinced the regime will never cooperate with a serious investigation, citing its refusal to allow the international community in to investigate key sites like the Wuhan laboratory. The legislation is called the COVID-19 Accountability Act. It's co-sponsored by 8 other Republican senators. It would require President Trump to certify to Congress within 60 days that China had provided a full and complete accounting to a virus investigation. The investigation could be led by the U.S., its allies, or a UN affiliate such as the World Health Organization. The bill would authorize the president to impose a range of sanctions if the regime doesn't come through. These include asset freezes, travel bans, and barring U.S. institutions from making loans to Chinese businesses. There are other conditions in the bill, too, that China close its wet markets and release all Hong Kong pro-democracy advocates.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo spends a day in Israel. He's meeting with the heads of the new coalition government, who will be sworn in tomorrow. They're talking about the CCP virus and threats from Iran.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arrived in Israel on Wednesday. He's there for a one-day visit to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his coalition partner Benny Gantz. Pompeo met with Netanyahu first. The two spoke about their partnership and appeared to reference the Chinese regime's response to the CCP virus outbreak.
You're a great partner. You share information, unlike some other countries that try and obfuscate and hide that information. And we'll talk about that country too, some.
Well, the most important thing is actually generating the information and then sharing it.
Yes, that's right. Democracies do both of those incredibly well. Right. Yes.
They also addressed tensions with Iran.
There's something else plaguing our region, which is unremitting Iranian aggression and terror. And I want to express my appreciation for the strong position that the President and you and your administration put forward against Iran.
Pompeo also spoke about an Israeli soldier killed a day earlier.
I want to express my condolences, too, for the soldier yesterday that was killed. It reminds us all of the importance of making sure that people all across the world know that Israel has the right to defend itself, and America will consistently support you in that effort.
The 21-year-old was part of a group of soldiers conducting an arrest raid in the West Bank. He died after being struck on the head by a large rock thrown from a rooftop. Pompeo later met with Benny Gantz at the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. Gantz and Netanyahu are scheduled to swear in their new coalition government on Thursday.
And a shakeup in last night's congressional special elections. Two GOP candidates are making waves after they surged forward at the polls. Both are backed by President Trump.
Exceeding expectations, two Republican congressional candidates pulled ahead in the two-state special election. Former Navy combat pilot Mike Garcia took an early lead in California, while Republican Tom Tiffany surged forward in Wisconsin. Garcia's strong lead on Tuesday opened the door for Republicans to reclaim Democrat Katie Hill's seat. If successful, it would mark the first time the GOP flipped a Democrat-held seat in California since 1998. While California's results have yet to be officially called, Garcia held 56% to Democratic Christy Smith's 44%, with 81% of precincts reporting on Wednesday. President Trump took to Twitter on Tuesday, reminding those in California's 25th district to get out and vote for Garcia. Almost all votes were expected to be mailed in due to the pandemic. Over in Wisconsin, Republican Tom Tiffany took a clear victory in his state conservative 7th district. He will replace former TV personality Sean Duffy following his retirement in September. Since then, the seat has been vacant. President Trump offered his congratulations to both candidates on Wednesday. He declared victory in both states despite the pending result in California, calling them two great congressional wins.
Border Patrol agents now have to wear masks at U.S. checkpoints. U.S. Customs and Border Protection mandated the masks in the last week. Agents have to wear more protective gear when processing migrants and any time during their work when they can't maintain social distancing. And in other news, Tesla's battle with California officials illustrates a nationwide issue, how local governments and businesses need to work together to get back to normal.
California's governor says he may investigate car manufacturer Tesla's early factory reopening, which defied county orders. He says they'll work with health officials moving forward.
Yeah, and it's county-led enforcement in these cases, and to the extent their modifications are being violated, I imagine Alameda County Health Department would be the first to check in with, and we'll certainly be doing that as a follow-up as well today.
Tesla reopened the factory on Monday, but local officials say the plant should remain closed because of the lockdown. Tesla sued Alameda County on Saturday. CEO Elon Musk also threatened to leave the state and move the factory elsewhere. One business professor says reopening early could cause workers to get sick or even die.
That's a big risk to take. It's a big risk to take morally and ethically. It's a big risk to put the company to, because if that happens, you can be sure the company will be sued. You can be pretty sure the company will lose.
But many small business owners support Elon Musk and his decision. They say they're in the same boat.
And it'll never turn back to normal, not in any short period of time, but we have to come back to some normalcy, and we have to get ourselves our economy back.
Tesla's lawsuit accuses the county of violating California's constitution by defying the governor's orders. He allowed manufacturers to reopen last Thursday. The Bay Area order has been extended until the end of the month, but counties plan to allow some limited business and manufacturing starting May 18th.
More than 250,000 college students in California may not be heading back to campus in the fall.
The University of California says its campuses are not likely to fully reopen for in-person classes for the semester. The system's 10 campuses include well-known schools like UCLA and Berkeley. 280,000 students are enrolled in those schools. The announcement comes on the same day the California State University system announced it will cancel nearly all in-person classes. California State is the largest four-year public university system in the country. The University of California's announcement appears a bit less restrictive. Officials say they are planning for a mixed approach that will involve with both in-person and online courses. California State is planning an almost entirely virtual semester.
Johns Hopkins University launched a free online course on contact tracing this week, as contact tracers are wanted to join the fight against the pandemic.
A tracer's job is to track down anyone who might have been infected by a person recently diagnosed with the CCP virus so they can quarantine themselves and prevent further spread. The 5-hour course is offered by the university's Bloomberg School of Public Health. It's required for the thousands of contact tracers that New York is hiring, but it's available to anyone who's interested. New York State is hiring up to 17,000 contact tracers. Johns Hopkins estimated the U.S. will need at least 100,000 contact tracers to safely reopen.
And coming up, 2 more U.S. professors are facing punishments that include jail time for hiding their ties to the CCP. We'll find out more about that after the break.
How do we get to this point? Back in December, the coronavirus was already spreading in Wuhan, and the Chinese Communist Party was covering it up and punishing the whistleblowers who dared to report the truth. Their actions led to this pandemic, which now has us, in America, stuck in our homes and losing our jobs. To this very day, the Communist Party is still lying, making it more critical than ever for us to get honest reporting about China. The Epoch Times is able to bring you the uncensored truth because we maintain a network of underground sources inside of China, hidden from the censors of the communist government. For instance, our investigative team has been contacting individual funeral homes, hospitals, and they've obtained leaked internal documents which show that China's official numbers are massively underreported by a factor of at least 10. If you're looking for an honest source of news that can keep you informed and safe, check out The Epoch Times. Go to readepoch.com and try your first month for just $1 and get real journalism delivered straight to your doorstep.
When you look at TV networks in America, a soundbite and fight-it-out culture prevails on news and commentary programs. As a Canadian, I'm fascinated with America, and I wanted to offer American thought leaders an opportunity to share their thoughts in a deep dive format where we can explore their ideas together. And so American Thought Leaders was born. The world's most brilliant thinkers believed that open discourse was the key to greatness. However, all around the world, we see that discourse is being stifled and political agendas have subverted media. The Epoch Times launched its Global Thought Leaders program to bring back this great tradition of free thought. As the host of American Thought Leaders, every week I interview some of the most intriguing minds on the most pressing issues of our time. Be sure to check out our new episodes every week.
The Trump administration has blocked federal retirement funds from ending up in the hands of blacklisted Chinese companies. Over $4 billion was earmarked for them. But a letter from top officials highlights the investment's significant national security and humanitarian concerns.
The Trump administration has blocked U.S. federal pension funds from investing in Chinese companies. The federal government's retirement savings fund was set to invest $4.5 billion in Chinese companies as part of a $50 billion international investment. But in a Monday letter to the managers of the pension fund known as the Thrift Savings Plan, National Economic Council Chair Larry Kudlow and National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien blocked the investment. They said it would have presented significant national security and humanitarian concerns. The letter went on to say federal employees' money would have gone to companies that violate U.S. sanctions and assist the Chinese regime's efforts to build its military and oppress religious minorities. Among them is surveillance firm Hikvision Digital Technology. Hikvision was placed on a trade blacklist last year because its technology is used in detention camps for China's Uyghur Muslims. Also included is telecom company ZTE, which was penalized by the U.S. government for violating American sanctions, as well as aircraft company Aviation Industry Corporation, which provides weapons for the Chinese military. The letter also referenced the Chinese regime's handling of the CCP virus outbreak. It said China may be sanctioned for their actions, so investing there is not advisable right now. Kudlow and O'Brien noted, in view of these considerations, we do not believe that proceeding with the investment of the retirement savings of hardworking federal workers in Chinese companies is prudent.
The Thrift Savings Plan will no longer track the international fund that included these companies. A new board will choose a new fund. And in other news, the FBI uncovers 2 more American professors with hidden ties to the Chinese regime. One is under arrest for failing to disclose funding he got from China. NTD's Melina Weisskopf brings us more on the investigations.
More cases of the Chinese Communist Party infiltrating U.S. universities. The FBI reveals 2 professors who hid their links to the Chinese regime's 1,000 Talents program.
It's the reason that China has this 1,000 Talent program is they want to steal technology.
And now, Professor Xiaojiang Li from Atlanta, Georgia's Emory University is facing legal consequences for his hidden relationship with the talent recruitment program. Sentenced to 1 year of probation, he has to pay over $35,000. Li earned at least $500,000 in foreign income, but did not report it when filing taxes. On May 8th, the professor pled guilty for filing the false tax return. So why would he not want to disclose the extra income he received from the Chinese regime's program?
You see, this is working for the party and working for Chinese military. But either way, they need to know that it's illegal, and otherwise they would publicize it, right?
Another professor at the University of Arkansas, Simon Saw Tiong-Ong, was arrested Friday and is now being investigated for a similar lack of transparency. He had close relations with China, but was not honest about those connections upon receiving grant money from NASA. An email discovered shows Ong allegedly asked another researcher to keep his ties to the CCP a secret. Not many people here know I am one of them, but if this leaks out, my job will be in deep troubles. A former chemistry doctorate student at Purdue University, Frank Shi, says the Chinese consulate would come to encourage him and other colleagues to bring technology back to China.
And they will openly ask us, to get the technology and bring back. So they have been doing that. This has been going on for decades.
Assistant Attorney General for the National Security said in a press release, the Department of Justice remains vigilant over programs such as the 1,000 Talents program that recruits professors and researchers to work for China. Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The Arkansas professor, still under investigation, faces a maximum of 20 years in prison. And up next, healthcare workers and others in France are criticizing the government on its handling of the outbreak. Find out what the charges are and more when we return.
%90 of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. They're not out to tell you the truth of what's happening. They're out to tell you the picture of the world that they represent. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in facts, and prevent people from being misled. This is a battle between truth and deceit. Subscribe today and join the Americans who are seeking truth and tradition. We'd love to have you on board.
Viewers have described China Uncensored like The Daily Show, but about China.
In China, something can be illegal, but still in common practice. For example, bribery or intellectual property theft or Uber.
At the beginning, I was super excited when I got 500 views, and now the show's grown to about 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. One episode reached 7.9 million people and counting. I'm a little freaked out that many people have seen my face.
Hey, have you heard of China Uncensored? It's starring me.
It's more and more obvious that China is having a major influence on the U.S.
Hey, have you heard of China Uncensored? 中国揭秘. In 5 years, I see China Uncensored as the only show on TV or the internet. It will be the sole source of edutainment worldwide. Have you heard of China Uncensored?
Yeah, I have.
You actually have? He's heard of China Uncensored.
I love China Uncensored.
The lockdown ending in France is also a time for accountability to begin. Healthcare staff, among other groups, are criticizing the French government on how it managed the outbreak. David Vives has the details.
Different groups in France, including doctors, nurses, and even prison inmates, are accusing the government of reckless endangerment and manslaughter. More than 60 complaints are filed so far, aimed at the Prime Minister and 2 health ministers. Discontent began to rise in the country since mid-March when confinement began. According to a nurse union leader, the government is making one mistake after another. He gave an example such as the lack of masks given to healthcare people to protect them from getting contaminated and transmitting the virus to each other.
These are severe mistakes. We can expect hundreds of thousands of people infected because of the health authorities' incompetence. So we will sue the people in charge after the outbreak's gone.
The government forbade drugstores from selling masks in early March to save the limited supply for healthcare staff. It said that masks were ineffective for the public to wear. Then it flipped its stance the other way on May 7th and declared masks mandatory if you go to certain places. For the former president of a French business body, the complaints are a complicated situation to manage for French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe.
This is a threat to him to the extent that it impacts all decisions being taken now.
He said the government avoids making decisions, such as school reopening, and instead delegates the decision to mayors out of fear.
This questions the balance of our institutions, because when a general is afraid to fight a war, he's sure to lose it.
France's government started a progressive lift of lockdown measures on May 11th. Report by David Vives, NTD News.
UK researchers are looking for clues as to why this disease affects people so differently. They're starting a new study. One doctor says he'd bet his house on genetics playing a part in individual risk.
Why does coronavirus kill some people but give others not even a mild headache? British researchers will use the genes of thousands of COVID-19 cases to try and crack one of its biggest puzzles. Researchers from across the United Kingdom will sequence the genetic code of people who fell critically ill with COVID-19 and compare it with those who suffered far less or not at all. The hunt for clues about why and how people have been getting ill will involve up to 20,000 people currently or previously in hospital intensive care with the disease and about 15,000 people with mild symptoms. Scientists are still in the early stages of understanding this new disease. UK Health Minister Matt Hancock has also publicly called on people to sign up to the programme in the hope of unlocking the secrets of the virus. Some answers could come as soon as in a few weeks from a study of almost 2,000 people already underway, although by testing more people, it will ensure data signals are genuine. The results will then be shared globally.
Uber has Uber Eats, and now it wants GRUBHUB too. Ride-hail company Uber reportedly made an offer to buy competitor GRUBHUB.
Ride-sharing company Uber is in talks to buy food delivery company GRUBHUB in an all-stock deal. That's according to sources familiar with the matter. A merger could give Uber's delivery arm, Uber Eats, a leg up on market leader DoorDash, turning the crowded U.S. food delivery market into what one analyst called a, quote, two-horse race. The potential acquisition suggests that Uber is doubling down on its fastest growing service to adapt to what is likely to be a long business interruption. Uber Eats has been a drag for the company since its 2014 inception due to heavy spending on customer promotions and driver incentives. But the service's first quarter revenue soared more than 50% as stay-at-home measures shuttered restaurants and upended Uber's core business of shuttling people around from place to place. The potential merger has sparked comments from lawmakers concerned about low wages for drivers and exploitation of local restaurants. But antitrust experts said the deal, if signed, would likely win approval from regulators. The value of the deal remains undisclosed, and sources say there is still no certainty the two companies will reach an agreement.
Still to come, an Olympic fencer facing financial difficulty amid the pandemic. Find out what he's doing to cope and more when we return. With the Olympics postponed and athletes struggling to make ends meet financially, one top Japanese fencer has exchanged his metal mask and foil for a bike and backpack to work as a delivery man.
With his Olympic preparations in tatters, Japanese fencer Ryo Miyake has put his dream on hold. Dressed in his national representative tracksuits, Miyake is now cruising on his bike with a new uniform, pedaling to and from restaurant and delivery locations, working as an Uber Eats delivery driver.
Now I am digging into my savings for a living, so I have to earn money by myself. And I also thought by doing Uber Eats delivery, it can prevent my physical strength from weakening. That's why I started this.
In March, the International Olympic Committee decided to delay the Games, due to start this July until next year. As a silver medalist at London 2012, Miyake had sponsors lining up to back him for the Games on home soil. But he modestly refused to accept the money. Instead, he enjoys his new job and the chance to stay fit at the same time. He earns about $18 a day working for Uber Eats, meaning he can survive without sponsorship. With uncertainty hanging over the postponement of the Olympics and no access to a proper training gym, he doesn't know when he will be able to pick up a rapier and train again with a partner.
Americans can get their new best friend remotely. Pedigree is setting up dog adoptions through Zoom meetings. The dog food brand launched MeetYourNewDog.com. The idea is to allow people to meet their dogs virtually and adopt a pet without having to leave the house. This week, Pedigree is joining forces with the National Humane Association. Pedigree says it will cover all the adoption fees. The program hopes to expand to more shelters in the coming future. And that's the latest updates for now. Thanks for tuning in. Catch up again at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Tiffany Meyer.